Hey, family, welcome again to another African Spiritual Conversations. And of course, I'm joined by the Queen Mothers and to talk about this conversation. How y'all doing today?
Great,
Great,
great.
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 Hey, great. So, our topic for today, I'm just going to get right into it because I'm looking forward to hearing some of these stories. So, when I was in my 20s, I did a lot of studying with women who were like shamans and into this spiritual, like, meditation and chakras and all that kind of stuff. So, but also mixed in that group were women who were, I guess they came out of like the Black Power movement and the nation and stuff like that. And then they kind of went into like a hippie state or whatever. So, and learning about spirituality from them, some of them came through a lot of stuff they were learning was really through a European eye, whether they knew it or not. It just looked new to them. So, for instance, I learned the concept of maiden, warrior, queen, crone. I learned that kind of
Yes.
format and how that really translated was maiden, mother, queen, uh, crone. And I
Right.
often wonder, and so they take you around the medicine wheel with it. I'm always happy to be learning anything around how things work, how systems work, or belief systems work. But I often wonder, was there an African version of that? Because it's however I get to the road, I get to the road. But when I get to the road, I always want to get the correct way or the way that speaks to my lineage, if you will. Is there anything in African system that measure like that?
Well, you have to remember that a lot of the European system stems from what came first, which is the African system, because we brought the civilization to them, not the other way around.
Okay.
However, uh, in their uh, in their trying to understand what we believed or what we knew, what we had learned over hundreds of centuries, they only got a very small piece of it. And some of the most important pieces are they weren't able to put the puzzle together. Let me put it that way, because it was their arrogance. I was trying to stay away from that word, or just maybe their ignorance, or a combination of the two. And so, what the women learned from the European system was a piece of the puzzle. But then you have to go back to the African systems because Africa is a continent and it has different systems from the south and the Sangomas to the Happy Valley and the Kemetic sciences to the west and Europa, Budon, and the others, and to the east, the beginning of Christianity, really, right there in the mountains of Ethiopia. Um, so the African system, we have been performing girls' rites of passage um, for eons. Um, we have that rites of passage system where the girls are taught by the elders of the nation um, how to be the women who are coming into their womanhood, into their blossoming as women. Um, and then, of course, for everything that we did, it was always the spiritual component um, that is overall, that is part of everything that we do. So there was the spiritual component, but there was a lot of physical components there as well, because in many of the systems, we were the warriors as well as the mothers and the picker of the berries and the fruits and the provider of the home and so forth. We also were warriors, which we still are, actually.
Right on.
So, yeah, but we start with the girls' rights. Well, oh no, I'm sorry. We start with the birth. Who is this person? Who is this spirit that has taken on human form? That's where we start. And that is part of our rite of passage as well. Um, Go ahead, Yay. I see you.
Really, not really. I'm okay today.
Okay. Yeah, but that's just
Yeah,
very
my mind
big.
is operating.
I know. I hear it. I feel it. I see it. I can even smell it going. So we have many passages because we also have the women's societies. So there's the passage there. We have the elders, and in many of our systems, the elders, the women elders, are the ones who choose whoever is going to be the head of the particular nation that we're speaking of. And we come from very ancient nations. I mean, when we think about Kerma and Naphtha and Merowe and so many others, um, and the Candaces, the queens that ruled in Kush, um, there is so much, and all of that rolls into a rites of passage. The Kemetic system has a completely, not a completely different, but they have different stages in their rites of passage as well. As so does they all do, because the Sangomas do as well. But come on, Yay.
See, when you start talking, so you want to pick on me today? Okay, nah. All right, rites of passage, and I'm seeing here. Yes, I am going in and digging in, and one of the first ones I started thinking was the ultimate one that is so surrounded by taboos in our society, in terms of Yoruba society of Iyame. Okay.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
okay. So because it's one of the most vicious, okay,
Mhm.
um, and the most maligned on so many different levels.
Yeah.
But okay, that's just one. Okay. Then we look at in terms of birthing. Okay, we do have to look at that. And what that surrounds with women surrounding women in the woman being able to give birth and the process of her giving birth.
Hmm.
And how that is, which is why we to this day have doulas and midwives. And we're
Hmm.
all, you see, society is going more and more back to having natural ways of giving birth and having women surrounding that whole process of giving birth. Okay. Um, so from one dichotomy to the other, to what do we do in that process once that child has given birth, or being born? Um, that child, say it's a girl child, since we're talking about women, one of my favorite people. Um, we have to look. I mean, I'm in love with I'm in love with being a woman. Okay, to
That's
be
her.
honest, I can't. Somebody told me that if I had in one lifetime been a man, I probably would be. But it's like, you can't do that to me. I'm having too much fun. I have to think of myself as being a woman from eons back.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's, because it's such a powerful, in all truth, it's such a
Yes.
powerful position. Okay, it's
Hmm.
such a powerful gender, and it's one where too often women, especially women of color, don't always see themselves as powerful
Yeah.
in being the gender of a woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just thinking that as a woman, to be able to hold a being in your body
Mm-hmm.
for 9 months, and that child knows every inch of you, your
Mm-hmm.
cell structure, your breathing, and you all are in this concert together to be able to give life, to bring life about. You're transmitting into that being
Yes. Yes.
all
Yes.
the
Yes.
information and things from all of the ancestors behind and past. You know, you're giving to that being, that being that is being clothed in flesh, identity,
Mm-hmm.
and one whole half of who they are and their relationship to the gods themselves, to the
Hmm.
Orisha.
Hmm.
You're
Hmm.
giving all that information, and yet they are taking all that information from you. And then that process is going even further when the child is brought into this world. And you are its first God.
Mm-hmm.
You are its only God for that moment of
Mm-hmm.
birth because it knows nothing else but you.
Mm-hmm.
And the process of that whole it's not even a construct, that whole concept of beingness,
Mm-hmm.
everything that it is, it comes from the moment you come into this world. You see your mom, okay? You see what that is, and that's who's teaching you initially. That's who's feeding you and giving you nourishment. Um, God knows my mother breastfed me too, okay? So with that, everything that I understood as a human being, I understood from my mother. And then I saw my father, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the women that surrounded me, because I've always had that around me too. I was blessed to have had a grandmother and a great grandmother to live with me I lived with them rather, for the first 10 years of my life. So what they were giving me was generational information as well in my rites of passage. And then they also brought in other women. They gave me a community of women to work with and to be with. Okay. They taught me not only how to wash myself, clean myself, learn how to feed myself. These are rites of passages that mothers teach to their children
Yeah.
and other
Hmm.
women teach. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Some men have to adopt that if the mother is no longer. But on the whole, women teach the child, whether male or female, women teach the children on the initial basis. They taught me how to breathe, how to defend myself, how to communicate with others. They taught
Mm-hmm.
me my everything. So that's seemingly is the position of the most highest Oludumare, you
Mm-hmm.
know, because they are that firstborn being. Because they also have to remember Oyekolobe talks about Nini Benin being that first creation,
Yeah.
that woman creation that was married to a Duduwa to give birth to what? Human beings. And so she was the gestation, she had the gestation of all human beings within her. So when we talk about rites of passage, this is the information that we actually have inputted into us. Another thing comes to mind is that with understanding that it's also the power. Okay. We have a tremendous, tremendous power in having the ability to be a woman and pass it on. The strength, we'll go back to Obey Law, the strength of who we are as women is the mark of what we're dealing with every day. We're dealing with Obey Law that says the happiness or the sadness of a human being is at the feet of a woman.
Mm-mm. That's it.
The joy and the pain is at the feet of a woman.
Mm.
So we have choices in the world to either, as we are whole beings, whole human beings, that we can pass on such dynamic energy and thought processing and helping to shape and mold the personality
Mm-hmm.
in joy, or we can be their worst nightmare, okay? If they are fractured and broken winged people. So we have to think about that as in rites of passage of the necessity of us putting these beings, these gifts from Ola Dumare that come to us, no matter who they are, where they come from. But as women, whether the child is mine or somebody else's, I have an educational opportunity to shape a child when they come to me. I have that opportunity to give and input something into their lives as a part of a rite of passage. So when children come to this space over here in Phoenix, I want them to have that loving, compassionate care, but I also want them to have structure. I want them to have truth. I want them to have all the things that are necessary that I can give in a short period of time to input into their lives as another type of rite to passage for them so that they are more equipped when they come to me than they were when they walked through the door. So you have to think of rites of passage as not just one type of rites of passage, but many types of rites of passage. Okay. And then I'll get to the Yami part on
Oh,
another.
I I kind of wanted. I was leaving them alone, but anyway.
We want to talk about them.
Well,
Okay. I'm game. I'm game. We can talk about the Yami now. But the one thing I wanted to just slip in here, to go to take a leap from childhood and the mothering piece is the piece that we shy away from, or at least some of us shy away from it. And that is the piece that we go through, which makes us the wise women. The piece of, I'm having a brain spasm here. The piece of, oh, come on, help me with the word. When we get old enough, and when our period stops. Give me the word.
menopause.
Menopause. Yeah.
Okay.
God, I couldn't get.
Menopause.
Well,
That's good. We don't have to worry about that no more. That's why.
Oh, I know. I don't have to worry about it no more. But I don't know how that works for all of us. The rest of us. Thank God. But yeah. But that's another.
Rites of passage.
Oh yeah. So prepare and beware, for here it comes, and it is a mother.
Yes, it is.
Mhm. So I'm sorry, Ifema Duque, you were going to say something. I just
Was
hopped
I?
in there. Weren't you?
No. I mean, I can say something now that you said that. No, yeah, that's no joke.
Woo.
I was gonna say that well, like Yes, was talking about the different types of rites of passage. We got built-in rites of passage in our bodies.
Your
I
mic is
mean,
off.
oh, it is.
I
Is
can hear
it?
her.
You can
I
hear me?
hear, I hear her. You
Okay.
can't.
You can't
Mm-mm.
hear me?
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you. We can hear you clearly, y'all here.
I hear you.
Yeah, so can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No, I couldn't hear.
That happens to me sometimes. Can you hear me now? Not really, huh?
Mm-mm.
I can hear you.
Okay. Um,
Well,
Just go.
it's your just
okay.
go because it's
Yeah,
mine.
Okay.
just go.
Um, the different rites of passage that we have built-in rites of passage in our bodies. So we have our menopause menstruation situation going on, and then we also have spiritual rites of passage from birth, esentaye, and then on to adolescence, initiations, becoming an elder, and different things in as an adult. And then um, there are life lessons that your mother teaches you, that your father teaches you, and all those things often add up to being rites of passage. So if we look at a whole person t- in the diaspora, we have the opportunity, and it's kind of like an art, in my opinion, to put together programming and also opportunities, cultural opportunities for us to celebrate these rites of passage so that we can fill in the gaps. Like we have some challenges here in the United States with, in terms of the way that our families and support systems are. And so we can fill in some of those gaps with the community mothers like Mama Rowe does a great job of that. You do a great job of that. And so the things that you would normally learn maybe from your mother, if your mother is absent or distracted or otherwise engaged, then some of those gaps have to be filled in by other women in the community or in your family. Things that maybe your father would have done that you or don't have access to that other male figures may do, or even in community, those things will have to get done. And sometimes the same person who does spiritual rites of passage has to be the one to see those things in you that need to be brought up to the appropriate age level and start help to fill in those gaps. So that's one of the things that, you know, we get to be about the work of, in terms of making sure that all of our grown people are also adults. That you
Oh,
don't just get grown and then don't be
yes.
an adult. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that, I mean, that's a real thing. Like we meet a lot of infantilized adults and grown people, and they should be also. We have to kind of bring that up to the level, and then also the spiritual development. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a job, but it's something that we should also focus on as we move forward into a time where we are taking command of the most important things in our lives as Black people.
Right
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
You need that nurturing all the way through. Actually, you need that nurturing from the cradle to the grave. We, as human beings, need to be nurtured and to be loved and to be. One of the things I miss the most during this time that we're going through now, which is a uh, really a very sacred time, although it's getting on our nerves. But I miss the hugs. I miss being able. I do that automatically with certain people. Obviously, I don't go around hugging people in the grocery store, but you know, I like to be able to see someone that I know and that I really have deep feelings for, or just a sister, and I want to hug them, and I can't hug them. And that's like part of our, for me, that's part of the nurturing, because when I'm hugging you, I'm usually getting a hug back.
Right.
And it feels good. And I think we need that nurturing all the way through our lifetime. And now that I'm moving along through my life path, I realize I really do need it as an elder,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. One
Not
one thing
how,
that I notice is there's a transition that you make somewhere in between adolescence and full adulthood, where you know what it is you're about, where you're headed, and also what you need in certain situations like relationships and whatnot. And you learn yourself. It's really more about understanding yourself well
so,
enough to be able to say what it is that you need and who you are and your uh, not just identity, but also intention.
mhm.
How you form your intentions, your critical thinking process, your conflict resolution process, and some of that has is a little muddy for a lot of people. So I think that is a area that we could stand to pay a little more attention in terms of how we form rites of passage, because really is art. It really is art when you're putting it together, like to integrate all those different parts of a person and create something that will benefit and touch and begin to holistically solidify all the parts of them. Like that's very it's awesome work.
Mm. Um, uh, um, um, yeah, are you hearing this? Ha- can you hear me?
Hear
Yeah.
nothing.
I'm going to another
Okay. I'm about to say you should close down and come back in. Okay. She gonna do that. She gonna go to.
Yeah, yeah.
While we're waiting for her, because when you said that we could start in any place, let's look at that elder for just a minute, because a lot of us, not all of, but a lot of us don't really know elders, don't haven't
Mm.
really lived with them. Like when I was growing up, I grew around a lot of elders,
Mm-hmm,
so that was like 70s, 80, 90 ish. But
mm-hmm.
now for a lot of people, they don't even know what that really looks like, or just to get the stories from the elders. You know what I mean? What was it like for you as a young woman? Like, what was it like for you planning your family, or what was it like for you having your first experience of doing whatever, whether if that was going off to school, or I don't know, taking a bus ride by yourself, or what was those life-changing moments in your life that you look back on now and you can see that, wow, that was a life-changing moment that happened to me? Because sometimes when life-changing moments are happening, sometimes you don't even realize it's life-changing.
Yeah.
Not, yeah,
Come
not until
Yeah,
afterwards, and then you said, "Wow,
right.
that really helped to bring me to where what I have found." Um, hmm, is that each experience, good, bad, indifferent, because there really, I've learned that there aren't really any bad experiences. They're just teachable moments that you get through life. I also learned that we don't celebrate and
Mm.
love on those uh, experiences that are really, really good experiences for us that we, think of as but we sometimes harbor on those things that we think weren't so good instead of making it the opposite way, the other way around.
Mm.
Um, but we build each experience, and as you get older you say to yourself, well, if I got through that hell, I can get through this. You
Yeah.
know, each time you get stronger and stronger and stronger. Um, as we spoke about yesterday, sometimes, however, you got to take, you, I call it sheet therapy. I just get in my bed and put them sheets over my head and hibernate, and then I get my uh, behind in gear. Can you hear? Can you
Can you hear
hear?
us?
I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
hear you. Yeah.
yeah.
Had to go to
Yay.
another
Okay.
computer.
Okay.
I get my behind in gear, and like yeah was saying yesterday, and I go about my father's business, and knowing that whatever it is, it's going to be all right because I'm here. I was born. I know I'm going to die. So you know, whatever it is, it'll work its way out. So each experience that you have helps you to build. Um, it's almost like you're building a stairway to heaven,
Mm,
whatever
yeah.
heaven is. Each thing is taking you closer and closer and closer to home. Yeah, you remember that song from years ago? I'm getting closer to my home. Do you remember that? Yeah. Well, I liked it then, and I love it now because I'm getting real close, and that's fine with me. Um, yeah. So yeah, we as elders, and you need elders in your life. I had like you, Ro, I had elders around me. I mean, I come from a
Mhm.
matriarchal family, and by choice. um, my grandfather died in 1933, I think it was, or 34, something like that. That's before I was born. Now don't get that twisted. Um, so that my grandmother, and even before he died, and I think this is true in many families, the grandmother rules the roost.
Yeah.
You know, she rules the roost.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I always had those women around me, my aunts
Mhm.
and my you know, older women, her friends, and
Mhm.
yeah, you need those women. They tell you this, but in my time, you kept your mouth shut when they were telling the stories.
Hmm.
You wanted to be as quiet and as invisible as you could possibly be. You would hear them say, "This grown folks' business," and you
Yeah.
gotta go. So
Mhm.
you be quiet and you listen, and so you can get the juicy part.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. You had to. You
Yeah.
had
Mhm.
to.
Yeah.
Yo,
Mhm.
because if you didn't, they would put you out.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Okay. And so you did want to have that. And I was blessed because I had the great grandmother, because it wasn't the grandmother that ruled the roost. It was my great grandmother that ruled the roost.
Hmm.
And
Mhm.
because she ruled the roost, she didn't rule with an iron hand, but it was close.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So uh, for real. Part of it was that she wanted to make sure that we got values. Okay.
Hmm.
It wasn't just about morality, but it was about values and things that she wanted to make sure that she was able to put into us so that we could grow from it.
Hmm.
Um, and because of where they came from, because they were out of Dickey, Georgia. And so they were in the heat of the South. Okay.
Yeah.
And with that, they wanted to make sure that we realized where we came from, who we came from, and to pass that on to our children as well, whether they
That's
were
Mhm.
going to be around or not.
that's right.
So the things that they put into us wasn't just, and I kind of look at some of that rites of passage stuff that goes on today that I don't see anymore. How
Hmm.
many? girls and women know how to do needlepoint? How many girls and women know how to sew? Hmm. Okay. How many can make their own clothes? Okay. How many can, cooking and other things that may not be that important,
Yeah.
but it was important in terms of the time that it took
Mm-hmm.
for you all to be together and to do those things and to be in that women's circle and do those things. Okay.
Yeah.
I was
Yes,
talking to,
yes,
because that was important. Um,
yes.
my grandmother and great grandmother were part of the Miriam Bethune
Mm-hmm.
organization, and so from there they had a chapter. Grace Lee Stevens, women, colored, and so you have to know how long ago that was. Colored Women's Association, the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chicago Northern District Association of Colored Women.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes, yes.
we the American Woman, where American Woodmen. So you had all these different associations, women's associations that they were a part of, and they put that into us.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding of social order and structure.
Yes, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and what that meant. Okay, I was telling one of my godchildren earlier today about what I, had a realization of, that was like a light bulb moment for me today, was that my I had my oldest child 52 years ago at the age of 16.
Hmm.
And at that age, my mother did not give me that whole thing of being ashamed. Okay, even though I was in a time where it was, not necessarily the best thing to do was to have a child out of quote unquote wedlock. But what she did for me was to bring those women of her friends and other women in the family to help guide me through this
Mm.
pregnancy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in
Mm-hmm.
guiding me through, they talked, and I mean, they didn't make it all nicey nice. They talked about girl, you gonna be going down that hall, and you gonna have to walk that baby down. You gotta walk that baby down. And I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? Walk that baby. Now I know
Yeah.
what they mean by walk
Yeah.
that baby down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because you had to hold on to something every time a pain would hit you, and you would be walking down the hallways of Cook County Hospital, you know. So I had to understand that they were telling me wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay, they weren't making fun of me. They were really giving me wisdom, and they were doing it as a collective.
Mm-hmm.
So my mother dropped me off at the hospital. And I thought that was the worst thing in the world if somebody could just, I'm pregnant, I'm alone. What you doing? You're leaving me your baby, because she had given me my food, my clothing, my everything. My mama worked 2 and 3 jobs to take care of me and my brothers. Okay. And I'm thinking she just left me. Okay. She parked her car, and for 3 days, she watched me from afar, walk them halls. And she taught me the greatest lesson of my life. I'm here, I can see you, but you're
Mm-hmm.
going to do this. And you're going
Yeah.
to stand as a woman and do this. Because if I'm here to hold your hand, you're going to always need me to hold your hand.
Mm.
I'm going to be here for you. But I want you to think that you can do this on your own. And that you
Mm-hmm.
can, because she gave us all these other things inside. She
Yeah.
gave
That's
me
Mm-hmm.
strength. She gave me courage, because like I was walking from the top of Cook County Hospital all the way down to the basement of the morgue. Okay. And had to make it. Wasn't no nurse coming by to see if you okay, because this was
right.
in 1968. Okay. They wasn't liking you like that.
They didn't
Okay.
care.
They
Yeah.
didn't care. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But my mama cared, but she knew what world I was coming into. and she had to make sure that I was going to be okay. Whether she, because if she was there at the same time, maybe I might not be. And she took a
Mm.
calculated risk. Okay. But she wasn't going to let nobody hurt me. But she was always right there. And so that's a
Yeah,
part of that rite of passage that I understood too.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's
Okay.
definitely a rite of passage. Let me ask you something. Um, after you gave birth and all that, during in your experience, did they bind up your stomach and put some stuff on it? And okay, I
Uh-huh.
just, I
They
just,
put the penny in my belly button. Okay, too. Okay, like they did my baby. Okay. They bind them up and they had it so I could get, because I had to breastfeed. What,
Mhm.
yes,
wasn't no bottle stuff. Okay.
yeah,
You
yeah,
had to breastfeed. Okay, because that was a way to protect your baby with giving
yeah.
them the immune system by being able
Natural,
to breastfeed that baby.
Right.
yeah,
So yeah, they bound my stomach up. That's why I had a waistline for so long. Okay.
yeah, 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 yeah,
They have that you had the mother's helper ointment that you put on your stomach so you wouldn't have no stretch marks.
Stretch
Okay.
marks.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
right. That's right.
okay, and then they bound you up and then they put your belly button back in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just like they did the babies so that you would still have a nice navel. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
why they
They knew
did
all the
that.
stuff. They know all the stuff to do, man.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think,
Yep.
yeah, it's that
yeah.
support system. Like that's a big deal for women, and it has impacted our birth outcomes greatly.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, when it's there and when it's not there, it's very evident
Mm-hmm.
because the
Mm-hmm.
birth outcomes change, and for the mortality of mothers giving birth, like it is huge,
Mm-hmm.
huge. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that
We
motherhood is definitely a rite of passage. And the other thing is you don't always have to give birth to be a mother.
true.
Mm.
We have
Absolutely true.
we have mothers among us, one that I'm looking at. We have mothers around us. Yeah, yes. And you don't always have to have like a passel of kids to be a mother. You
You
can
said a
get
Mm-mm.
you can get a passel of kids
I ain't
without.
heard that word passel since my grandmother was alive.
That's a big word right there.
Yeah,
Okay.
a passel. We got a passel of kids. I love it. Mhm.
Oh, that just
Yeah.
makes my heart. It makes my heart smile.
All mothers got their nourishment from.
Say that
Yeah.
again.
When you
What
think
did,
about your mothers and your grandmothers and that great mother energy, where do you think they got their nourishment from? What do you
My
think?
mother,
I
it was a
go ahead.
tradition in my family that the women surrounded each other during
Mhm.
Mhm.
the certain times, like when you're getting married, when you're having a child, with someone in your family passes, like a child, a husband, or whatever the case may be. Like that's set in stone in my family to
Mhm.
this day on my mother's
Mhm.
side, which is there's more women than the men are never going to catch up. Like there's a lot of women on that side of the family, which is
Yeah.
interesting because on my dad's side of the family, it's all men. So,
Mhm.
they hooked up
Mhm.
several times, but 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 that was the thing. Like when you have a baby, your feet don't touch the floor,
Mhm.
and
True.
so my grandmother she was so like she didn't budge on that. That was her thing. Like my mother and her sisters, they did that for each other. She was there to direct traffic, certain things that you eat. It's certain like my younger brother was a failure to thrive baby.
Mm.
Mm.
So after my mother had him, like they were doing their thing with her, had her stomach wrapped up, the pad, the sugar, and all the stuff, right? And then he was with my grandmother. So she was like, I only saw him when it was time for me to breastfeed him. Otherwise, she had him. And like very young, because he was having trouble catching up, she had to give him solid food. So she was, and my mom said, I didn't find out till later. My little baby drinking pot liquor,
it was
eating
either that or
cornbread.
pot liquor.
The pot liquor. It was the pot liquor.
The pot liquor.
So
Okay.
that was the thing. Like, and even to this day, like if I start feeling like just slow a little bit, then I know I'll cook a pot of greens and I'll just drink pot liquor if I don't feel like I can eat the greens. Because that's medicine. And the way that they descend on you. Like there's no conversation. You don't get to say no. You don't get to, before, like I was telling Ro, like before I went into surgery, like one day my mom just called me and she was like, your auntie and them is here. Because they heard you was down, and she was like, so do you want them to come over there, or are you coming over here? Like, can you get yourself together and come over here? Because they're not leaving till they see you. So they descend.
But that's
on
what
you.
we do.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
That's what we do.
Yeah, don't give you a chance to say no, I'm okay, or none of that stuff that women do now. We don't get a chance to say that.
We have to see your face. We gotta look at your eyes. We gotta know you're okay.
Yeah.
And my mother's friends did not come off of that because my mother was the only child. Okay. My sisters come from my father's other marriages. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But interestingly enough, they all had a close group of women that acted as my mother's sisters. To the day they died, those were my aunts. Okay.
Yes.
And so I couldn't do nothing because they all lived close by. That was the problem. Okay. Okay.
Right.
Like Miss Brown. Miss Brown was the one who lived close across the street. And so those women, that group of women would look at you. I didn't know that they were watching me come from school. They were in their in their houses, and they were watching me come to school. And I would come across 43rd Street. We in Chicago. And there's a blues club on 41st and Kings Drive. Okay, it wasn't Kings then, it was South Park. And I heard the blues come out there, and B.B. King was playing. Okay. And like, I love Gut Bucket Blues. To this day, I love me some Gut Bucket Blues. And so I went in and I'm just like,
Yeah.
And I thought I was bad enough to go order me a drink,
Yeah.
And because I thought so.
Trouble.
Well, it was trouble because Miss Brown saw me.
Oh, yeah.
And Miss Brown came across the street to the club and said, you get out of here. Your mama is on the way. And I'm like, how the hell she know? Because they didn't have cell phones. Okay. And I didn't see no phone on the corner. Okay. When I got down to 41st and South Park, where we lived right off 41st and South Park, my mama's car was already there. So she had to leave work because Miss Brown told on me that I had entered into the bar and I was switching my butt around. Okay. So when I got to home, my mama had a switch for me. Okay.
Yeah. She's like, you want to switch? I got you.
I got a switch for it. Okay. And so the community of women was so strong.
Yeah.
They kept everybody up. See, my mother was the pianist for many churches in Chicago.
Mhm.
Okay. And so everybody knew who she was.
Yeah.
And that community of women was always around watching
Yeah.
what you doing,
Mhm.
Yeah.
knowing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
I
why
Yeah.
I
love
tell
those
my
stories.
friends, like, you got to let people know your children who they are. Because then when we see them in the street,
Mm-hmm.
we can see, we can put a good eye on them. Like, you need that. You need that
Yes.
extra support because you can't be everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
I
you
just
need
Yeah.
wonder
that.
how they knew. When like they didn't have cell phones, they didn't have text message. Like
No,
how?
they
'Cause,
call on
like,
the landline.
I always thought when you became a mom, you got an extra set of eyes in the back of your head.
You
Mm.
do.
Yeah, but you got a whole bunch of extra set of eyes because
Yeah.
everybody who you ever had to pass your baby to is
Yeah.
now a set of eyes for you.
Eyes. You
That's why
right.
you let people see your kid when they cute before they get bad.
Mm-hmm. 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 And I could see Ye now in that ball with that good bucket blues going,
Right.
and
Bending
and
down
she was
and
just
shaking the body.
uh-huh. Yeah. She got a switch all right.
Man,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That
think in
isn't
a
a,
lot of ways we long for those days because that's why we have so many social ills.
Yeah.
Because don't nobody want to do nothing because people feel some way about their kids.
mm-hmm.
Mm.
And back in the day, like even if I had a disagreement with an adult, either another adult would step in or I'll just go get my mom. I never went toe to toe with an adult ever. When I was a kid.
No. Yeah. You
No.
don't.
I didn't have the need, so I can go tell my mom or
Yeah.
another adult would step in and be like, what's going on? Or, you know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
I
But
never had.
there's two sides to the coin. There are some things that impacted the way that things are right now that I think are not just because we don't have it. It's also because there's been some rampant misuse of that authority.
Right on.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in places where there was misuse of that authority, then people had to try to adjust. You know what I mean? I don't think we should throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Bathwater.
Like, you need to have other sets of eyes on your children as they move around the world. I have a friend and he's an old school parent, and I was like, in another life you was somebody's grandma, because his daughter cannot go anywhere that he doesn't know someone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, like, down to what she puts on when they go out somewhere together, and she's an adult now, but he still, like, make sure she cool, or before they walk in somewhere, let me give her a once over. And then he will call people that he knows without her knowing and be like, this is my daughter's address, and if she calls you, I just need you to get up and go to where she's at.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to ask. If I call you, I don't. We need to have this already. If she says, okay, I'm moving to Vegas, I'm moving to wherever she's moving with some job, or she's traveling with her job, she just moves around the world. She don't even know that he's in the background. Like, hey, I done already called my people. They're from Chicago too, so they're from Chicago too. And he just be telling me the stories. He's like, yeah, she was with some little dude, and he thought he was going. I guess they got into an argument. It was just a regular argument. So I was like, you're bordering on meddlesome, but I'm not gonna say anything because I feel like you're balancing the energy in the world by being a little over. You know what I mean? Like, you're 10 on the 2 sometime, but it's okay. And then they got into. She called him and she's like, yeah, we were arguing, and she was crying. He said, all I needed to know is that she was crying. And it was 3 dudes standing on the porch within an hour. And he said, how'd your dad get somebody to come over here? He all the way in California. And she was like, yeah, that's just so you know that you can't be loud talking me. And so, like, I just think that
Cultivating relationships.
we could stand to cultivate those
Mhm.
relationships. And even, like, from a spiritual standpoint, when you know that your people, your children are out in the world, find somebody in that city who's connected to the tradition that you practice, so that when they have an issue and need to seek counsel, you've already vetted someone.
Mm.
You already
Good
clear in your
point.
understanding what
Yeah.
they can, you know what I mean, what their capabilities are. I'm gonna send you to this person and they gonna send you to somebody, or I'm gonna send you to this person, they gonna give you a reading, they gonna tell, don't worry about it, I already took care of it, just go solve the problem. You know what I mean? Because we're at a point right now where we have to tell our kids to just survive the encounter, like whatever it is.
Yeah.
just survive it, and then we'll fix it
We'll
later.
take care of it. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll take care of it on the other end, but I just need you to survive the encounter. So if your head is in the lion's mouth, don't wiggle it. Like
Ease.
yeah,
It's ease.
yeah,
Ease it
just,
out.
you know, and so because we have to do those things, we also have to counteract that with building them up, because those experiences can sometimes tear down parts of them.
Yes.
Right on.
So
Yeah.
we there's other, you know, we still need to do, we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater just because of some bad actors. But I also think, like, there's, in addition to that, we also have to do some other work to make sure everything is everything. We can't just say,
Right.
we can't throw a blanket on it and just say anybody black should be looking out for my kid. No,
Right.
that's not a
No.
reasonable expectation.
No.
No,
No.
especially now,
No.
especially in these days, we can't.
I don't think it
Yeah,
ever
that's
was,
why we
because
better.
everybody knew the person that you don't.
Yes. Yeah,
You know,
we knew
you don't let your
in the
kids-
neighborhood.
Yeah.
We knew. Yeah, you said something that I think is really a point that needs to be said again, and that is those clubs or societies that we had as women. We had
Yes.
no compunction about saying colored. We might have used the word colored. Some of them, maybe we used the word Negro, whatever, but we weren't ashamed or afraid to say
No, we
they
weren't.
they belong to us. That's
Yeah.
Us. Right.
our club.
Yeah.
You know,
That was extremely important, because that was what we identified with during that time. Okay. Women like Mary Bethune, women like you had so many organizations then, okay, that were not always college bound organizations either.
Mm-hmm.
These were women who organized from churches and social clubs. Okay. And they organized around the concept of women take care of women, women do
Yeah.
women's things. It was about
Yeah.
the roles that we played in
Yes.
our society and in our groups. Okay.
Yes.
Color was a word of pride then.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It was, Negro, color was our word. Okay.
Not
but
so much.
it was of that time. Okay.
Yeah.
Because even with my grandfathers, okay, and my father and my grandfathers and my great grandfathers worked on the Pullman Railroad. They were part of that 100 black men, so to speak, that worked on the railroad. And they were cooks and the porters, and they made a good living for the standard of the day. Okay. And so those organizations of women and men, okay, were those organizations that would help. They were the helping hands in our communities. Okay. If a woman, like, for example, when my father was killed, okay, it was those women that helped to bury him. Okay. It was those women that helped to minister to my mother, because she now was a widow with 3 children. Okay. So these were the women who were going to make sure that we were going to be okay no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And those were the same women that as I was coming up, that still taught me. My grandmother taught horticulture and like I said, those needle points and stuff, but she taught it in schools where they put girls that were pregnant. Okay.
Mhm.
Because
Mhm.
in the in the early 60s and 50s, if a girl got pregnant in school, they didn't have their babies at home.
Mm.
Okay. They were either sent down south, or if the legal system got involved in it, you were put in jail. Okay.
Wow.
It was a crime to have a baby out of wedlock. Okay. So you were put in a home for girls. All right. So it was those same women from the situations across the country that actually took care of those girls. Okay. And taught them life skills so they could take care of themselves and their
And that
babies.
baby.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And they use that as another type of rites of passage.
Yeah.
These
Mhm.
women did what was necessary. Okay. They were your first social workers. Okay. They manned the jails.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
They did all of that. And on top of it, they went to your home to see if you had food in there. They
Mm.
went to see if the clothes were clean. Did you have enough money to wash your clothes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So wasn't nobody else taking care of you sometimes but those people, those
Yeah.
women.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, the women of that called themselves colored women, because my grandmother never called herself anything other than she was a woman, she was a colored woman. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so but it was a pride. Okay. It
Yes.
wasn't something to be ashamed of. These were the
Mhm.
things they did in that name because, for one, who was going to do it? See, we were
Right.
still in segregation.
Yeah,
Right.
we
Okay.
had to look. We
If
had to
we
look
were
after
still in segregation,
ourselves.
right?
Mhm.
Because when I was coming up, we couldn't go to Woolworths to sit. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
I couldn't go to
Mhm.
I couldn't go to Stouffer's and sit in there with anybody with them white folks when I
Yeah.
was coming up. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
So my grandmother was a seamstress. Okay, a tailor. And she worked for most of white folks making their clothes. But she
Mm.
couldn't sit in Woolworths to have a cup of coffee.
Mm.
Okay. So what I'm
Mhm.
saying is those women and those women's clubs were the clubs that made sure that the freedoms that we have to this day
Right
were
on.
the
Yeah.
freedoms that they actually
They.
made happen. They
Mm-hmm.
planted the seeds of courage in us.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
They're the ones that said and showed us that this is what you have to do in order to survive here, and you're going to do it. So there
Yeah.
was no excuse. They didn't give
Exactly.
us any excuse. You did what you were
Then
supposed to do, because
to
if you didn't, you were going to have to deal with them.
Mm.
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
those are the women that I was raised by. Okay.
That's a
Uh,
rich. That's a rich
yeah,
legacy. That's
yeah.
a rich legacy.
Yay,
I mean,
yay.
Okay.
In Chicago, did you have Horn and Hearted? Uh,
Girl, you gonna start reaching all the way back, okay?
I just wanted to know
I
if you
mean, we
had it
had
in
Jack. You
Chicago.
have to remember, we had Jack and Jill. Okay,
Oh,
in time,
yeah.
yeah. Okay, let
Mm,
me see. I learned how. Let me put it like this, and it might sound kind of messed up, but I had to learn how to speak black.
mm.
Okay, I had to learn how to, because there were things that the Jack and Jill social clubs did.
yeah,
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
there were things because we were trying to. It was trying to get into an equitable position in those times. Okay. So when my mama got mad at my grandmama and moved us out of our home to the projects, I had to learn how to speak black. Okay. Now you get it.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, I got it. I got it.
Okay.
The other thing that came up for me when you were speaking is that as black women, colored women, Negro women, whatever is the word of the
Hmm.
day, we always looked after each other, and that
Yes.
makes me think about the Sisterhood of the Good Death in Brazil, in
Yes.
Mhm.
Bahia,
Yeah.
Brazil,
Yeah.
because they came into being to be able. Now this is
Hmm.
they came into being to be able to bury their own people. Now
Yeah.
People.
that
Right.
is what you said 2 days ago.
Hmm.
Mhm.
And that was the whole reason why the Sisterhood of the Black Death came into being. And the other thing with them is you could not join that order until you had to be 50 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you had
Yeah.
to have had your
Right.
family, your children. You had to
Yeah.
Hmm.
have had, if you wanted, you had to have had a, a man or a
Hmm.
man or what. So you had life experience.
Experiences.
Um,
Right.
yeah, we've taken care of each other all the way through since
Mhm.
we were snatched out of our homes
Yeah.
in
Hmm.
Africa. We have
Right.
looked after each other.
And that's
Mhm.
the thing. That's a legacy and a heritage that we
Mm-hmm.
still have to pass on because the the same kind of division that was taking place to move against African born in the diaspora people
Mhm.
is the same division that was sent in to keep us from each other, from
Yeah.
women to women.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is what I was raised around. Yeah, I had my vision of my daddy. Okay. My grandfathers were there. I have rich, wonderful memories of them, but the memories that last are the
Mhm.
women, the
Yeah.
ones that taught, that took you from the cradle to the grave.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Those are the ones that you remember.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have, you know what? The one thing I knew about our folks is that even if there was any kind of petty jealousies or any kind of petty kind of mess going on, if you had a problem, that petty mess went out the window and they gathered
Right.
together no matter what and got to you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. They
Yes.
always were able to get to you. And
Mhm.
that's what I had. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
those, we had, I remember one of my best friends, she got pregnant before me. Okay. Uh, when she was 14. Okay. And it was the women that found out that she was pregnant. It was the
Yep.
women
Yep.
that
Yep.
found out who the daddy was. Her mama with the women had a red light. Do y'all know what a red light party is?
Mm-hmm.
It's a red
Quarter
light party.
parties. Y'all ever hear quarter parties? Okay, you had a red light in
Yes.
the
Uh-huh.
Yes.
house.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And you paid a quarter to get into the park.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Renee's mama threw a quarter party, but they didn't know it was Renee's mama.
They thought
Okay.
it was Renee.
They thought it was Renee. Okay. And the women organized this so that they would get that boy up in there. Okay.
I love it
And
already.
Renee's mama had a shotgun. Okay. And like she told her, she said, boy, you gonna marry this girl or you not leaving up out of here. Okay. That's see them these kind of women I was around.
Yeah.
Okay. Because who else did we have? We had each
Right.
other.
That was
Okay.
it.
Yes, she did marry him and had a bunch of babies by him before he died. Okay. But she did marry him. And it
Yeah.
was in that same week because he knew he was not going to come out of there alive. Okay. We,
That was a real shotgun wedding,
baby.
honey.
Ooh,
That was a real
that's a real
shotgun wedding.
shotgun wedding. That's a
But you
real
know,
shotgun
like
wedding.
I say to the people who are not really looking at the idea of defunding the police in a creative way, like remember these times.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the we have to take care of
Mm-hmm.
ourselves anyway. Like, so we can look at creative ways in which to reestablish our power and connection in the community. Meanwhile,
Mm-hmm.
they need to get out of our way because we can't keep burying our kids behind
Ain't
something
going
that
to.
does not have no
Ain't going
good
to.
mean for us, and it's taking our money out of our paycheck directly.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
You understand
You
what I'm
know, we
saying?
don't have time for this anymore. Okay.
Yeah.
Really, it boils down to that. We don't
Right.
have time anymore for us to have any of these other issues going on because I'm buried. Okay. I have already seen the death of young people in my family.
Yeah.
Okay. And so because of that, okay, for whatever reason, it's not, it's like it's no more
Mhm.
a reason. There's no good reason
No,
why
there's
we
none.
don't get together and do what we got to do. There's no
Mhm.
good reason.
Yeah.
Okay? Because like we have, there's a sense of we've been anesthetized, you know,
Yeah.
and our level of understanding, because I've heard it too many times out of people's mouths that said, well, that's not my problem. It
Yeah.
is. It is your problem.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay? That child on the corner is your problem.
Yep.
That child that cried out for his mama is, as he was dying, is your problem.
Yep.
As
Exactly.
women, we don't have time to hear that. That's not my problem anymore.
Right.
And anybody that says that need to be checked
Yeah.
because it is your problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It was a time when I would hear people in our community that would say, Babylons that would say, but I'm only taking care of my people, my family. Okay. And I thought that that was the worst thing in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I had a sense of understanding deeply, but it was because of what the women put in me from the very beginning
Yep.
that
Yep.
said, hold up, dude, there's something wrong with you.
Yep.
It ain't about that. That baby belongs to us.
Yep.
Okay. So you don't have that luxury anymore to say that. My daughter called me last night. Okay. And she was ready to put her children that are living down here in Phoenix in my house. Okay. And like my hair was getting ready to go whiter than it already is. Okay. Because she works she's a nurse.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And a supervisory nurse, RN, and she had already experienced black folks dying on her units.
Yeah.
Okay, so she heard the video that's going around from the Huey P. Newton Gun Club.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and she was like, "I need you to go to my son's job. I need you to get my children and take them to your house. Whatever differences y'all may have, get rid of it. I need you to take care of my babies for me."
Mm.
It was with a sense of urgency because she was scared.
Yeah.
She's scared because something real is happening out here. And she
Right.
ain't a Risha person. She's not a
Right.
Risha person.
But she
So she
knows.
had her fear is real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of us that really need to think about, get past the fear, but we really need to think about where are our children? Where are my
Yep.
grandchildren? Where are my great grandchildren? Because I need to know where the hell you are. Okay?
Right.
Because the things that are going on right here, right now, require us as women to find these children, okay, or to put our hands on people that we love, and sometimes them that we don't love, but we got an
Right.
attachment to them, and let them know that, hey,
Yeah.
you can't. This is where you need to
Yeah.
be. Here's my
Yeah.
number. If you ain't got to like me, love me, or
Yeah.
anything, but if your ass is in
Yeah.
trouble, you need to get to me,
Exactly.
or let
And
me
it's
know where
not
I
even,
can get to you.
yeah, because not all the differences are petty, but you have to really put it in perspective. Like, I don't
Mhm.
like you. I don't really want to talk to you, but I'm not trying to bury you either.
Right
Thank
on.
you.
Right on.
Because
So
you
I
have an
want you to live
opportunity for
another
change
day.
too.
Yeah, I wanted you
Mhm.
to live another day to make a different decision. And if you,
Right.
as long as you're around, you can make a better choice. But until that time, I just got to make sure that you stay around.
Right on.
Yes.
Well, that's a good message to wrap up on. I have to go pick somebody up. They blowing me up. They're like, we know you still live. And I'm like, I am still live. But anyway, this is always such a great conversation. You know what, Thea? I did totally forget about that message, and I think that's something that, well, you hit on it, and that was good enough. But I do think these are times where we do have to all be accountable for each other, even if we don't so much care for each other.
Yeah.
Get to a certain place where none of that even matters.
Right.
Mhm.
I
Absolutely.
think we're in that time
Absolutely.
right now. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
with that, family, we gonna see y'all next week.
Yep.
We gonna be back next week, family.
All
Yeah.
right. All